Good day, Source Nation. Good day, and welcome to SRN Live Television. I am Kevin Hezekiah, the host of the Political Corner, and today we have an amazing show. But before I go any further, please let me thank our sponsors who have made this show possible, and they are Zulina Health and Wellness and Fitness, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Revolution Mills, and Renovations. And like I said, we have a great show for you today. You know what? I was gonna go into some trending topics dealing with Donald Trump, but man, this political stuff, man, is crazy. So I feel I need to make my conversation today about it's time to start taking political ignorance serious. Time to start taking political ignorance serious. And what is the serious conversation approach to politics? Time to start taking political ignorance seriously. And what is the serious conversation approach to politics? Now, Source Nation, if you like to advertise on our television network, you can contact Kathy B at KathyLynn1971 at gmail.com or Tracy Jeffcoat at gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to them if you like to become a sponsor here on the Political Corner and on all the other shows that we have here on here on our television network. Now I'm gonna take a quick break, and when we get back from the break, we'll jump right into our topic. Time to start taking political ignorance serious. All right. So Source Nation, we'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Political Corner, and I'm your host, Kevin Hezekiah. And our topic is time to start taking political ignorance serious. And what is the serious conversation approach to politics? Now, I was going to go into trending topics dealing with Donald Trump and all this stuff Donald Trump got going on with the Russian steel, all this NFL stuff and all of that, but this political stuff is getting really out of hand. And I want to start focusing our attention on the ignorance of it and how serious it is. And we need to really get serious about this and really understand what's going on. Now, even more than most others, the Alpha 2016 election cycle has highlighted the dangers of political ignorance. Data has long shown the voter ignorance is widespread on both sides of the political spectrum. A high percentage of the public is often ignorant of even very basic information, such as which party controls Congress, which officials are responsible for which issues, and how the federal government spends our tax money. Now, this year, public ignorance has likely played a major role in giving us an unusual, painful set of choices on election day, and especially, but not exclusively, but contributing to the rise of Donald Trump. Now, most of the ignorance out there is not the result of stupidity or validity on the part of voters. It is, to a great extent, entirely irrational behavior driven by the fact that there is so little chance that any one vote can change the outcome of an election. Now, if your only reason to become informed about politics is to make better choices at the ballot box that turns out not to be much of an incentive at all, the odds that your vote will decide the outcome are infamously small. From the standpoint of the ordinary voters, it makes sense to pay little attention to political issues, instead devoting most of your time and effort to other matters. Now, I remember the former Prime Minister Tony Blair, he had put it, the single hardest thing for a procrastinating politician to understand is that most people, most of the time, don't give politics a first thought all day long. Or if they do, it is with a sigh before going back to worrying about the kids, the parents, the mortgage, the boss, their friends, their weight, their health, sex, and rock and roll. And for most normal people, politics is a distant, occasionally irritating fog. Now, this year, the fog is even more irritating and much scarier than usual. But it does not seem to have caused voters to become better informed. Such behavior is particularly rational. The ignorance of any one voter makes almost no difference. But individually, rational ignorance can cause great harm when many millions of voters behave the same way. Now, in addition to making a little effort to seek out information, most voters also do a poor job at evaluating what information they do know. Instead of acting as truth seekers, they instead function as political fans, like cheering on Team Red or Team Blue, over-evaluating any information that confirms their pre-existing views, while ignoring and downplaying anything that cuts the other way. Now, this kind of bias is exhilarating by the intense partisanship and polarization that has descended upon American politics in recent years. Now, partisans like to claim that the other side voters are influenced by ignorance, and that they are often right to think so, but rarely consider the possibility that the same may be true to their own party supporters. But some measure partisan hatred is now more widespread than radical and ethnic prejudice, and certainly more social acceptable. Even if voters somehow become significantly better informed than they are, they may not get much value out of their knowledge unless we can figure out how to curb the tribal partisan hatred that has engulfed our politics. Now, I'm telling y'all this because this whole political arena that we got going on is like a circus to me. And it's like every day is something different, and it's just downright stupid and ignorant. And we as people, we have to understand, when dealing with politics, especially when it's dealing with our tax money, we need to get serious about this. Let me take something to drink here. I mean, because really they're playing with our money. And I'm pretty sure y'all don't like for your money to be played with. So just pay attention to what I'm saying, man. And let's focus on this ignorance. And we need to start trying to find a way to get this ignorance out of our way. Now, political ignorance is not unique to the United States, but it's also a serious problem in many other democracies. In recent years, dangerous demographic movements of both the right and the left have grown, influenced in many European democracies and elsewhere. Political ignorance is a major contributor to the racism, and to the zero-sum thinking that facilitates their rise. Sadly, such exploitation of ignorance is often more effective in periods of slow economic growth, like the one we're experiencing right now. Now, several important works warning about the dangers of political ignorance have been authorized by libertarian scholars like Brian Chaplin and Jason Beeman. Now, I critiqued Beeman's insightful recent book on the subject, but left of center experts have also sounded the alarm, including Christopher Arch and Larry Burt's excellent recent book, Democracy for Realists, which I did review as well. Now, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Political Corner, and I'm your host, Kevin Hezekiah. And our topic is time to start taking political ignorance serious. And we're talking about how now how the political arena it's like a circus. It's like a circus, man. And they're focusing on things that they shouldn't even be focusing on. Like, I don't understand what's so important with them worrying about the NFL wanting to kneel or bow or whatever they want to do. And then here you got Donald Trump now talking about how he comparing himself to Jay-Z and how Jay-Z made him look like a clean-cut guy. It's crazy, man. Like, what does that got to do with politics? That's why I say it's time to start taking political ignorance serious. We have to really check this out, y'all, and really be on top of this, because it's getting crazy. Now, getting back to our topic. Now, you don't have to be a libertarian skeptic about government to worry about political ignorance. Now, indeed, the greater the role you want democratic government to play in society, the more you have reason to worry about the quality of a voter decision making. The more powerful the state is, the greater the harm it can cause if ignorant voters entrust the power of the wrong hands. So here too, the rise of Trump is a warning we should take serious. He is not the first, or most likely the last demonic of his kind. I mean, I have long argued that we can best alleviate the dangers of political ignorance by limiting and decentralizing the power of government and enabling people to make more decisions by voting with their feet rather than at the ballot box. Foot voters deciding where they want to live or making choices in the private sector have much stronger incentives to become well-informed than ballot box voters. There is much we can do to enhance opportunities for foot voting, particularly among the poor and disadvantaged. Limiting and decentralizing government power could also reduce the enormous scope of complexity of the modern state, which makes it virtually impossible for voters to keep track of more than a small fraction of its activities. But I'm open to considering a variety of other possible strategies for addressing the problem, including voter education incentives, directly incentivize citizens to increase their knowledge, among others. Perhaps the best approach is a combination of different measures, not relying on some one silver bullet. Now, the large-scale reforms efforts aside, that are a number of things individual voters can do to become better informed and less biased. Now, I'm not optimistic that very many will actually do so, but even modest in sentimental progress might help somewhat. So now, like I said, if you're just tuning in, you're listening live to the Political Corner. with me, your host, Kevin Hezekiah, and our topic is time to start taking political ignorance serious. Because we're getting more ignorant political news by the day. By the day. It's always something crazy going on out here. Now, my purpose is not to prove that my preferred solution is the best, but to urge you to take the problem of public ignorance more seriously, and to recognize that it goes deeper than just shortcomings of your political adversities of the moment. Now, voter ignorance, one of the most important weaknesses of modern democratic government. Now, if we do not react better, safeguards against it, the situation could easily get worse than it has already become. So please, y'all, let's start getting serious with politics, man, because it's really getting out of hand. It is getting out of hand. I've never seen in my life this circus in politics. Not this bad anyway. Not this bad. But anyway, if you're tuning in, you're listening to the Political Corner, and I'm your host, Kevin Hezekiah. And we're going to take us a quick break. And when we come back from the break, we will jump right back into our discussion. All right? So, Source Nation, we'll be right back. Welcome back, Source Nation. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Political Corner, and I'm your host, Kevin Hezekiah. And the song you just heard was E.D. Island Energy. Edie. All right, I think it's Edie Island Energy, and Edie will be he's a reggae artist. And he will be on the Indie Soul Saturdays. This Saturday will host James Johnson at 4:15. So be sure to check him out. Edie Dennis, and that was Island Energy. Now, if you're tuning in, our topic is time to start taking political ignorance seriously. And what is the serious conservative approach to politics? Now, we were just talking about before how the ignorance of the political arena is, and how we can probably fix that through certain, like, foot voting, better than ballot voting, ballot box voting. We're talking about the ignorance that we are seeing in our political arena, like with this one, here it is, you now have Donald Trump talking about how Jay-Z was saying all these curse words of Hillary Clinton, and then she had to speak, but it made him look like he's a clean individual and all this and that. And then you got the craziness going on with the NFL, and why does the NFL have to be linked in with the politics? I mean, who cares if these guys want to kneel, stand, bend, and walk around or what? That's the freedom of choice. But and then you got just all this craziness going on in politics, man. So I want us to start taking this serious and really trying to figure out a way to get this stuff right. All right. So now the word conservative has lost all meaning these days, which is both sad and depressing. And it is now used as shorthand for all manners of romantic reactionaries, like who wants to go back to some golden age, like bigots, racists, buffoons, and carnival barkers. Yet, modern conservatism is a serious and intelligent approach to politics, espoused by some of the finest and deepest minds in the history of political thought. I always said that when I had started studying this political philosophy, I went into my studies as a political liberal, and while I came out more convinced of the justness and soundness of liberal constitutional democracy, the thinkers that had impressed me the most were mainly conservative political philosophers, particularly like David Hume, Edmund Burke, and James Madison. And encountering with these minds is a bracing experience. You do not survive it without your mental architecture being somewhat rearranged. Now, in what follows, I will attempt to reinstate of a modern, because it is also like liberalism, a product of the Enlightenment. Now, conservative political thought, as I understand it, and try to indicate why I deeply respect this approach to social and political challenges, even if I don't always agree with it. Now, there's a great dictorium that at the bias of every social and political theory, there is an anthropology, that is a view of what a human being is. Now, when those theories are put into practice, their chances of success will be largely determined by whether or not what we think a human being is turning out to be true. Now, while liberals tend in the main to have an optimistic view of human being, conservative political philosophers start with a sober view. They focus on our selfishness, our greed, our appetites, our preference for those close to us, our inability to sustain feats of goodness or heroism, and our propensity to violence, and so on. Now, the views tend to be that while human beings are certainly capable of dazzling feats of generosity and nobility, a lawmaker should not make that the operative assumption in the design of institutions of law. They believe that assuming human fatality is much wiser, and that is a view that deserves considerable reflection. Now, if you're tuning in, you're listening to Political Corner, and I'm your host, Kevin Hezekiah, and we're talking about time to start taking political ignorance serious, and what is the serious conservative approach to politics. And right now, we're discussing what is the serious conservative approach to politics, because all the conservative the conservative issues and the conservative mentality has been lost. It's no longer there. And these politicians know it too. Excuse me, let me take a drink. Now, conservative political philosophers are skeptical of grand theories. They are impracticalists. They say, look at the fact of experience. see what has worked, and try to understand why. Therefore, they are skeptical of grand schemes for reform of societies and governments. They say there is a presumption in favor of existing institutions and forms of governance. That presumption is, of course, rebuttal, but it exists nonetheless. They are open to reform for, as Edmund Burke would say, as a system of governments without a means of reform is also without a means of conserving itself. Now, you reform in order to conserve, but these philosophers privilege carefully evolutionary reforms, that is reform that takes account of the tactic wisdoms often embedded in established practices, usage, customs, and norms. Society, they argue, is not a blank state. You can't simply draw whatever you want on it. And we can see we see today several instances where revolutions or foreign interventions have knocked down in nasty autocracies, only for all hell to break loose and thousands of lives to be lost and millions of people forcibly displaced. Now, these days, a lot of the greed masters, political operators, call themselves conservatives. And in many constitutional democracies, the creed has become simultaneously with a total lack of social concern, with wanting to destroy support for the underprivileged while figuring out how to make the rich and powerful even more so. Yet there is within modern conservatism an emphasis on community, and it claims on duty, on service to the community, on looking out for the entire community. Whether it is called one nation conservatism or compassionate conservatism, the strand is there. While conservatives will usually encourage people to fend for themselves and not look for handouts, there is a strand that emphasizes fellow feelings, charitable givings, and above all, the need for uses, forms, institutions, and laws to restrain the powerful and protect the weak. Now, will this understanding of modern conservatism survive the current turbulence and in the different political communities? Only one can hope so and pray that it will. Now, Source Nation, it's about time for me to get up out of here. But before signing off, Source Nation, I want you to know that you can find us by going to www.yourbtv.info. That's www.yourbtv.info. And Source Nation, once again, before I leave, I want to thank our sponsors who made this possible. And they are Zulina, Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Revolution Meals, and Renovations. And Source Nation, feel free to look me up on Facebook at Kevin Hezekiah. On Facebook, you can also look me up on Instagram at Hezekiah Sar. And you can also check me out on the Global Agenda Show. And you can go to www.theglobalagendashow.com. You can look up the Global Agenda Show on Facebook. And you can look up the Global Agenda Show on Twitter. And the Global Agenda, and it is at Global Agenda 007. And Global Agenda on Instagram at and that's the_global_agenda_show. So Source Nation, it's been a wonderful So, and you know, before I go, I have to give some type of food a thought. So bear with me for a moment. All right, here we go. God never gives you a dream that matches your budget. He's not checking your bank account. So God never gives you a dream that matches your budget. He's not checking your bank account. He's checking your faith. So Source Nation, y'all have a great rest of the day, a great rest of the week, and most definitely a great weekend to come. And I will most definitely see y'all again next week, same time, same place. And please check us out, www.yourbtv.info. That's www.yourbtv.info. Go there, check us out. All right, and have a great and lovely day. Peace out, Source Nation.